we all have a greatest moment, and it's not at the top, it's at the very bottom. When we go, I'm either just gonna like run and hide and completely isolate myself because I never want to see, these are people I sit across from in boardrooms. I never want to leave the house, or I'm gonna rise up. So the more no's, think of them like dollar bills, the more no's that you stack up, eventually it's going to purchase a yes. So we have to be very willing to go out there and hear no. So now we're at a point where we're over six figures. Yeah, well, just how I got started was 50 years old. Kids just left the nest, 2018. We come back home, we open the door, and we're like, holy heck, it's quiet in here, right? And you've just spent the last 2-3 decades of your life pouring yourself into your family. I was working behind the scenes in my husband's company, my in-laws' company, everybody. I was a behind the scenes mom, wasn't even a stay-at-home mom, behind the sscenes mom. And I'm like, I got a lot less road ahead of me than I do behind me. And I don't want to spend it on the sidelines. I didn't want to do that. You know, a lot of my friends were like, oh, just take it easy. And I'm like, I just had this burning desire not to make an impression on this world, not like footprints in the sand that just would get washed away with the tide, but I want to leave this world with impact, with an indelible mark that speaks of my faith, that speaks of who I am, that gives a trail for others to follow, including my family. So a legacy, impact. So that was a long road. That was 50. I'm 56 right now. And there was a lot of trials and tribulations, but I just started taking steps toward that. I launched my company in 2023 was my beta launch. So that's why I encourage coaches who are just starting, start with just a beta launch. Get together what you want to do, what you want to speak of, and have one client that you work with one-on-one, and develop the program from there. So that was 2023. And a lot happened in 2023. You know, sometimes when we go out with all gusto, the world answers back. So we have a child who decided that he no longer wanted us to be his parents, which was the heartbreak of my life after 24 years. And you only share the stories that you're healed from. So I'm not totally healed on that. So that's about as much as I can say. Then my husband got in a really bad car accident. My aunt died, and I developed an autoimmune disorder from the stress of all that. So right in the crux of me wanting to just take off and take hold of life, all these challenges, right? With the autoimmune disorder at the end of 2023, I lost all my hair. I lost all my hair. So now I'm a 55-year-old woman, a bald woman, and I'm looking in the mirror going, who is this? Who is this woman staring back at me? I got a wig. My daughter took me wig shopping in Dallas, went to a charity event with my husband. 1 week into wearing my new wig, takes me out on the dance floor and he gives me a twirl. Wig goes that way, I go that way. In front of senators, in front of all the important people. I already felt like I did not belong in that audience. Empty dance floor, wig on the dance floor moment. Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? And I had to, that was the defining moment. I say we all have a greatest moment, and it's not at the top, it's at the very bottom. When we go, I'm either just going to like run and hide and completely isolate myself because I never want to see, these are people I sit across from in boardrooms. I never want to leave the house, or I'm going to rise up and I'm going to say, hey, this is what happened to me. And my husband said, Cindee, this will be your greatest moment. And I said, how? And just think of the women that you serve. They want to know that you're real. They want to know that you are suffering through things and you've been hiding it from them. So what I found through my faith, I found that God wants to use what I'm hiding to bring healing to people. And so it's very important to me that I share my story, because I know that there's other people hiding behind humiliation, hiding behind shame, hiding behind regret. And we can't, if we want to truly lead our lives, which is my company, we have to move past that. So today I help empty nest women discover who they are beyond mom, beyond the bald woman in the mirror, gain confidence, reignite purpose, and become faith-fueled impact makers. And that's who I work with, women who were like me at age 50 going, I want to change the world, but I have no idea how. And that's who I love working with. That brings you up to speed to where we are today.
That story is so powerful, Cindee. I felt like I was there with you on that
I
dance
wish you
floor.
were. I so wish you were. You know that moment when the dance floor is empty, the band just starts
Yes.
playing, and all the eyes are on it, right? Who's going to go out and dance first? Well, it was us. It was us. But
Oh
the
my gosh.
courage that I gained from that moment, that's not
Mm.
like me. That's not like me. It empowered me in a way that I could never imagine. And in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I did a bald photo shoot with my photographer. She said, Cindy, you need to do this. I go, I don't want my hair to be my story. I want being overcoming to be my story. But she goes, no, you need to do this. And it was really powerful. It made me cry because it was like, it doesn't matter who you are on the outside. Your beauty truly comes from within. Hair doesn't matter, your clothes don't matter, nothing like that. Who are you? And you start leading from the inside out.
That's a very intimate photo shoot to
Oh
do
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And it was scary because normally it's just my husband and I, he loves it. We say that he lost his hair when we got married, the day we got married, it just took off and left. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too much, but it took 33 years for me to lose mine. So now we're just, no more hair products in our house.
Oh, there's an empty drawer.
Yeah, yeah, there's an empty drawer in the bathroom. Yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like you really had two aha moments on this path. So the first one being when you came home and you opened the door and you were
Yeah,
like, it's quiet in here. And the
right,
second one being that dance floor moment with your
right.
husband and the impact that that had on you. Was there an aha moment where you said, I'm doing this full time. This is for sure my 100% direction.
Yes, that was by January 10th, 2024. So just less than a year ago. I had done the work of building the beta clients. I was a realtor. I got my real. That's what I did in 2018 when I said empty. Okay, what can I do to build something? I go get my real estate license, and my goal was to put my daughter through college. Debt free. I'm gonna and no sales experience, whatever. So I just took off. First year, I sold one house. It was pathetic. And then I figured out my niche. I work with empty nesters, and so I was able to build that up and do quite well. Send her to school, but it wasn't my heart.
Mm,
But I feel like if you're launching into this, use where you were or are right now to be a bridge to where you want to go. That audience that you have right now, that's your low hanging fruit. So you want to go to them, go to somebody within your career, go to somebody that you say, hey, you know what? They would be my ideal client. Go to them and say, hey, would you be willing to be my beta client? And use that as your starting point, and then gradually, build it up into maybe you're working with 4 or 5 beta clients, and you're like, okay, now I have a rhythm, now I have a program. And then you can say, I want to do this group coaching, which is what I love to do because that's a better use of your time. I can talk to 12 ladies 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week versus 12 hours a week, right? Which is mentally exhausting. It's mentally exhausting to coach that many people one-on-one. So I think that's eventually the transition is getting to that group coaching platform and then using speaking. Speaking has to be your jam and learning how to get on stages. And that was my focus this last 2 quarters of 2024 is how can I get on more stages? How can I speak? Because that's how you bring people into your funnel.
So when you're talking about these beta clients, it sounds like you found your first few of them from your real estate clients.
I started something in 2020, and I because I realized was getting kind of introverted, just going to my natural self, and isolating, not having those deep women friendships that I really wanted. That kind of dissipated when the kids left because I was no longer involved in the ballet community and the water polo community and all of that. So I started a challenge to myself. and it was called the 52 Coffees Challenge. And I told myself that I would take one woman out to coffee every single week for 52 weeks. And the catch was I couldn't know her. I couldn't, it had to be somebody that I did not know. Two rules: I would learn her story, and how could I add value to her life? So that was my challenge. In return, I was learning how to communicate, how to have eye contact, how to not look at my phone all the time, just basic communication skills. From there, it took off to 3 to 5 coffees a week. And then, pretty soon I'm just holding a coffee and people are, 12 women would come. That's how I started. And then it was from a few of those ladies that I could see, oh, they have the same drive and determination that I do. There's like no going back. They already burned the bridge or the boat. And I asked them. I went to those ladies, and they would say, oh yeah, this works, this doesn't. And really they gave me feedback, which over a year I used that to launch my program.
So when you were first doing that beta group,
Mhm.
what are some of the challenges that you ran into, or just in at the beginning of your business in general? What were some of the you mentioned some of your personal trials and tribulations,
Right,
but what
right.
business trials and tribulations did you run into?
Not having a business plan,
Mm.
having a dream without a financial foundation. Now, I had money to start my business, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a job for that money. I had to give that money a job, right? I had to have a framework, for my business. And I didn't start with that. So that's a big challenge. You have to start with a plan. You have to know your numbers. How many clients do I need to have in order to reach your target number for the year? That's the first thing. Second was having a client journey. Where am I taking them? Yeah, we're sitting down, we're having coffee, I'm working with them. What are we doing? And really mapping out, what is your client journey? Is it 90 days? Is it a year? Is it 18 months? And then you put them into your group coaching program. You have to have that mapped out. And that can happen while you're meeting with these people. It really can. Because you're testing them. What are their biggest struggles? What are their hangups? What do they need help with? Because it might not be what your struggle is. I thought that the women I was working with, okay, they're gonna just all be like me. Their struggles are gonna be mine, and it wasn't. It was like what I found out last night on our free master class. Um, that their biggest struggle is, I know what to do, I know how to make the plan, but I don't know how to execute. I don't know how to get myself to do that. That's not something that I had trouble with. But most of the women I serve, that's their biggest problem. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does, and it sounds like you're constantly learning from and responding to what your people are asking for and what their struggles are. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it's a really nice way to make new products, make new
Right.
like journeys. So I've actually done a very similar thing in my business where it's
Yeah.
like I start doing what I think makes sense, and then people are like,
Yeah.
"No, I need this." Like, "Oh,
Right.
well, let me add that," right? Like that
Right.
becomes a separate product when people keep asking for it. I think
Right.
the tough thing on my end is internally I tend to be really reactive. So it's
Yeah.
like if one person says they need something, my first thought is I'm going to build that when I need to like
Right.
slow my roll, wait
Right.
and see. Let's see if
Right.
5 people need that, right? Before one
Right.
person.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because I'm the same way. I tend to be a little bit more on the impulsive side. Like I just make quick decisions. But asking, getting feedback, putting it out on your social media. Hey, what is your biggest dream right now? What is your biggest struggle? What do you really, just asking all the good questions, and not just from one person. I think that that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
I spent so much time this past year creating these 90-day planners with purpose. I mean, I
Yeah.
put forward 80% of my energy, and only a couple of my clients use them. So it's something I love. I love them, but nobody else does. So am I going to do that again next year? No. But I am going to repurpose all the stories and the videos and everything that's in there into another type of product that they will like, because I've gotten that feedback.
I love that you're seeing it as not like a complete, like, oh, this was a failure, but more, I have all this content now.
Yeah,
I will use it for something else, like repurpose it.
yeah.
So kind of along those lines, what mistakes would you say you made in the early days?
Just not having a plan. Just not having a plan. The limiting there's a lot of doubt, like who would listen to me? Who
Mm.
would listen to me? I'm just Cindee, the stay-at-home mom. I'm just, who's gonna look at me and go, "Oh, I need help from her." But what I discovered is that we're not lacking in experience. At age 56, I was not lacking. I felt like I was lacking when I went out back into the career world, but I found out that I was stacking. I have a lifetime of stacking experiences under my belt, and I am more than ready to bring value to people. And I think, maybe I'm on step 5 and somebody else on step 9, but I can help all those people underneath me, right? So even
Mm.
if you're just starting out in the coaching and you have that dream inside of you, know that you have all these experiences in your life that you can draw on, and there's people behind you who are wanting what you have, and you have to define who those people are.
How did you work through that? Did you have a coach of your own?
Oh, always. That's another thing. You have to have coaching. So that's another big mistake. I really, this year, I'm going to say my word for the year was lead. My company's lead my life, and lead to me stands for live exceptional, advance daily. And so my word was lead. But this year, I had more coaching and mentorship and than ever before, which is interesting because in order to lead, we have to have mentorship. We have to have coaching. Both my husband and I launched new companies this year. We both did. We launched a real estate investment firm because the full circle of Lead My Life is that in 5 years, we will be able to have properties that we will be able to give to women who are newly divorced or widowed or experiencing a hard time, and be able to do seller financing for them so that they can actually experience home ownership.
Wow.
So we had to get a ton of coaching around that because we didn't know what we were doing. And the result of that is exponential growth. Beyond what I could ever imagine, because we surrounded ourselves by people who are faster, stronger, doing what we wanted to do at a way higher level. And that changed everything. And even if, oh, I can't afford it, invest what you can. Invest what you can, use unofficial mentors, use podcasts, read your books, do everything that you can to learn every single day.
That's a great practice. Just being in the process of learning. Um, what are some big wins you had immediately?
Like from the start.
Yeah, because we talk about challenges in the beginning. I
Yeah.
also like to talk about the big successes in the beginning.
Right. So I would say that we of course, need to celebrate and recognize the wins that are small. Recognize when you walk away from the client and it was a really positive just experience and they got a lot from it. That may not seem like this huge monetary win or something like that, but it went good. And how did you feel? And how did that
Mhm.
empower you? Record that, write that down. What did you do? What made it good? So those were some of my biggest wins. It just showed me at the very beginning, because it showed me I was on the right path. The other thing, and this was just a practice that we adopted in 2021, which is just an early win, is we began to allot time at the end of each quarter to do what I call reflect, reset, and renew. So we started off in January, and it was already on the calendar that at the beginning of April, in the beginning of July, the beginning of October, and at the end of the year, that we would go away. The trip was
Mm.
already paid for, the hotel was already booked, the air, whatever, it was already booked and paid for. It was a non-negotiable. We would go away with the sole purpose of working on our business, the bird's eye view, instead of working in it. And so we started off and it was just, okay, we can do a weekend, or maybe just a day, but it was blocked off. And then now we go away for up to a month now. And we bring Starlink, we bring Elon Musk with us and Starlink. And, we'll be beside the East Fork River in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And I'm doing coaching calls and working for 3 weeks alongside the river in Colorado. And then taking a full week off to just turn everything off and reflect, reset, and renew. Learning that habit, just that discipline alone has propelled me farther than I could ever imagine. Because before you're just going, going, and you don't stop to think about what's working and what's not. So I always
That's
put that.
Did you come up with that on your own or did you hear that from somewhere else?
I I mean, I probably heard it from somewhere else, but I call it reflect, reset, and renew. But yeah, I was like, Todd, we need to get away because what I have this rubber, oh, here it is. I have this rubber band ball in my office because this was my brain back in 2021. I had so many thoughts. I was going so crazy, especially after 2020, and we had a janitorial company and everybody was dropping like flies and just getting sick and quitting. And I couldn't move forward. So I'm like, we have to get away. And my thing is just pull one rubber band off.
Mm.
One rubber band off for that week, off the rubber band ball, and just sit in it for a week and think about what are we going to do next. So that was my thought. I'm sure other people do that, but that has been super powerful in our life. Highly, highly encourage that.
Oh, that's an incredible practice. Especially, I love that you have it all pre-booked. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not when can we fit this in?
No.
It's we are fitting the rest of our life and our business around it instead.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
I recently did actually last year for the first time I did um Michael Dickey's flow state retreat
Yeah.
and this is the first time ever, Cindee, I've had like a calendar of the entire year
Yeah.
that I actually blocked things on. Like it looks different when you're on your Google Calendar, right? For
Right.
all your planner stuff.
Right.
But this is
Right.
one piece of paper and blocking off actually for that exact reason, the flow
Yeah.
piece of it where you're not in the business, you're working on the business. And I
Right.
blocked it last year. I blocked out my quarterly
Yeah.
things, actually
Yeah.
very similarly to you. And it was so tempting to move those.
Yes. It,
So tempting to be
it
like,
is.
well, I could just do it in a few weeks. No, this is when you're doing it. And that's such a powerful exercise.
Yeah, what I find powerful about it's true. You start to build up events and stuff around when you're going away, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is right. How am I going to do that? But on the other side, it's like we work really, really hard,
Yeah.
90 days, and I know I can go all out, push it, and do all the things because I'm going to get that time away and I'm
Mm.
going to have that time to relax. So I actually accomplish more in that 90 days than I have ever accomplished before because I know there's a finish line, there's a resting point, and then I get to start again. And it makes a
Oh,
difference.
yeah. Oh, that's brilliant too, because it's sort of like with a workout plan. When you're working out every day or every other day or whatever, and there's no end in sight, there's no cheat day, relax week,
Right.
deload week, whatever they call that. When you're
Yeah.
doing that forever, it feels like, oh my gosh, I cannot do
Yeah.
this forever. But when you're looking towards
Yeah.
that break, you can do better. Wow, I feel like you're outsmarting your own brain in some ways of like having
That's the
that.
object. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
When it comes to other things that have influenced you, you mentioned earlier for especially if people don't have the money to invest in coaching or something at the beginning or invest in their business kind of thing. What kind of podcasts, books, workshops, things like that have influenced you on this journey?
I'm a John Maxwell.
Mhm.
I'm part of his leadership program. So in 2018, turning 50 years old, I went into my bookshelf, into my office, and I pulled out a book, John Maxwell. It had been on there forever. In fact, my son had read it and highlighted it. It was torn and tattered, and it was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I never even gave thought to my own personal growth. Never did. I was raising kids. I was, pouring everything into their growth. And seriously, I can't even believe it now, but I never even gave a thought to my own dreams. I never gave a thought to my own personal growth. In fact, I feel like in the Good Christian Women Club, that's, which I am not a part of, I reject wholeheartedly, that you're discouraged from growing yourself. And that's just wrong, right? So I picked up that book alone, it was like, it just sent the light bulbs off. And from there, I started to listen to Bigger Pockets because I was very interested in real estate investing. And that just opened it's like you open one door and then all kinds of other doors open up. So John Maxwell's books launched it for me. Right now, I read 52 books a year. So that's my challenge to myself. Every week I read a new book. I do a lot of audio. So I get up at 4 a.m. I do my own reading and writing, and then I usually go for a 2 or 3 hour hike. And on that hike, I practice my speaking. I talk to myself out loud. Nobody's around. And I listen to audiobooks. Yeah, so I get through a lot of material.
Oh yeah, I bet. What are you reading right now? What's this week?
Well, I have Fire, which is one of my favorite books, and I'm two foring it. This book, What to Say. This is an old book. Have you ever read it? What to Say When You Talk to Yourself?
No.
Powerful. This is a mindset dynamo in here. It's about all the negative programming that we have in our life from the time that we were little. We hear no 100 times more than we hear yes. And we just learn that about ourselves. Oh, I can't do that. No, that's not for me. No, I'm not enough. No, I don't deserve to be here. But what would happen if we started saying yes to ourselves? Yes to our dreams. I am an overcomer. I am, whatever fill in the blank you want to accomplish. So this one I'm using with my Lead My Life ladies, and it's been really powerful.
Oh, that's incredible. Um, speaking of hearing no more often, tell me about the growth of attracting and retaining customers as you've grown and as your circles are growing. What's worked? What hasn't worked? Like what your marketing tactics? You've mentioned social media. Like just share a little bit more, if you could, about that piece of your business.
Right. So saying no is hard. I have a saying that I say that no is the currency that purchases your yes. So the more no's, think of them like dollar bills, the more no's that you stack up, eventually it's going to purchase a yes. So we have to be very willing to go out there and hear no from people, because the more no's that we hear, eventually it's going to lead to yes. As far as marketing, the biggest thing that has helped me this year and just attracting clients and then retaining them, knowing what they want, I used a AI platform. I think it's called Psychology of the Ideal Client. And I just plugged in my information, what I thought my ideal client was. And I got a 38-page booklet that is phenomenal. Like it described, I read it, I almost cried because I'm like, that's me, and like getting down into the psychology of it. So understanding on a very deep level what their struggles are, what their aspirations are, what questions that they're asking, what are they hiding, what demographic are they? You have to know who your target is. You have to niche it down so narrow that you know that person and you shoot for them. Otherwise, it's just like birdshot. It was like when I was doing real estate and I sold one house the first year. I was out to everyone. I was just sending birdshot out and I wasn't attracting anybody, but you have to know who your people are and know that not everybody is your people's. They're just not. A lot of people are going to say no. But once you find that right person, then you need to create this client journey and this follow through and this engagement and appreciation of them, where they feel loved, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel part of the community. We do something on Mondays and we call it the Monday morning roll call. So at 7 a.m., all my ladies get on a Zoom call and it's come as you are. If you just rolled out of bed and your hair is a mess, you're on that call. I come on and I'm just, I'm about ready to go for a run. I have my beanie on, and we're a hot mess group. But what we do, I give just a short little message for the week, 5 minutes, and then we all call out, this is what I'm going to be working on. this week. And creating something like that where your people feel engaged, they feel like they're part of something. I call them my faith-fueled impact makers. Find what are you trying to create within your group and call them that. Make them feel empowered and engaged in what you're doing.
So I'm hearing a lot of client retention strategies
Yes.
of giving them that value, right? Like the value isn't just you teaching them stuff, it's in the community, it's in the experience they get, it's in the accountability, mentioning
Yes.
earlier
Yes.
that a lot of them have the plan, know what to do,
Right.
don't. They need the
Yeah.
community and you just kind of like, hey, we've got our thing. You're showing up in your robe, you're showing up in your beanie, you're showing up however you
Right.
are.
Right. Yeah.
And this is not, it's a non-negotiable for our
Yeah.
week. And
Right.
so there's a ton of reasons to stay and being acknowledged by a community. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
it's, I definitely hear the echoes of your 52 coffees in this, right?
Yeah.
Like I so see the evolution there. Um,
Yeah.
and it just sounds like a really lovely place to be.
I am working on it, and that's what I hope to create. Have I lost people? Yeah, I've lost a few people, and it's usually the women who won't engage, who won't come to the Monday morning roll call, who won't come. I have group coaching once a week, which is powerful time. I have office hours once a week, which is huge. Bring anything that you need help on. Is it marketing? Is it a personal problem? Whatever. If you don't engage, then yeah, you're not going to get the experience. So know that people are going to say no, and they're going to walk away and just go. Maybe if you can have a conversation with them, go, hey, why are you leaving? Is there something that I could have done better? And learning from that experience instead of being afraid to talk to them, find out why, and to say, hey, the door is always open for you to come back, and I'm sorry to see you go, but God bless you and hope to see you back sometime, making them still feel like, hey, you're still loved, you're still seen, you're still heard, but you've made a different decision.
Hmm. So with the conversations you have with your ladies, how has it worked and has it worked to turn them from not just customers but into advocates for your groups and for your coaching?
Yeah, but my ladies, I mean, I did a keynote speech in August at the Women in Business in our local area, and it's kind of our big thing. My ladies worked my vendor table for me. They,
Wow.
they they were fighting to work my vendor
I
table.
love that.
I was like, I only need two of you. And they were all surrounded, and women were coming up to I didn't have to do a thing. They were there selling the program. It was hilarious. And I'm like, okay, that feels really good because they've bought into the community. We have an in-person mastermind once a week or once a month, which I think really helps because when we're able to see each other eye to eye, that helps. So it gets a little harder with just an online community. How do you create engagement? I'm moving more towards that online platform. So I really need to figure out that angle. That's kind of my point for next year is really how do you make people feel engaged when you don't get to see them? Is it a quarterly retreat that they could come to? Is it, some way where you're actually giving them a hug and looking them eye to eye?
Mm. So tell me more about what next year looks like for you. So you're talking about moving more to an online format with having a retreat quarterly. What else are you looking at for next year in terms of growth and things like that?
My goal for next year is to build my membership to 100 members. That's my goal. With that, I know that I need to get on X amount of stages in order to do that, and that my signature talk has to have that call to action within it. So before I was speaking, yeah, I would do a keynote, but I wouldn't have that call to action. I would just get this nice inspirational message, but nobody knew where to find me after that. So speaking does no good if they don't know how to connect with you, how to go to the next level. So next year is all about speaking. Next year is all about getting on other people's stages digitally and physically, and then building my own digital stages. So that would be developing a YouTube channel, which I already have, but getting that bigger, and then building my own stages, which I highly recommend young coaches to do. Get your workshops going, it's workshops, it's your mastermind, it's a dinner experience, it's so many different things that you can do. but all 4 categories of speaking with the purpose to funnel people into the membership.
So you have a specific number of stages you need to be on. What is that number?
What is it? Well, I know with my personal digital stages, it's 52, and it may look more like 104 because I'm planning on doing short little YouTube videos plus my podcast. So it's big. I hate to even to share my numbers
Mhm.
because
Of
that might not be somebody else's numbers, right?
course.
I think the main point is know your numbers. Know your numbers, shoot for that. Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 4, maybe do something, you know. So I have that mapped out. I have 100 members because I think that's doable, but I need to know, usually from an event, maybe I get 2 to 3 clients. So how many stages would that be? To
So figuring out like the return on investment
Yeah,
for going
yeah.
to a speaking event and things like that. Um, what is your team like right now? Do you have a team? Are you hiring next year? What's happening with that?
Right. So you want to get people in the right seats, right? So that you're not, so I have a VA, and that was my very first hire in 2021. Yeah, in 2021, when I was really doing a lot of real estate, I hired Sheila. She's my amazing VA. And so she helps a lot. She helps a lot with the social media. She edits all my videos. And I think that's an excellent place to start, is getting somebody who can help with some of the back of the house details. Because I found myself on my phone editing, YouTube videos for hours. And I'm like, okay, this is not a good use of my time. I could be out selling more houses. So that, and then having somebody, I'm trying to think of the other people. I have an AI company that helps me to do lead gen. That's something that I'm just putting into place right now to do the funnels and the drip campaigns, to bring people into, subscribing, get their emails, and then start feeding them, following through, so that it's not just like, okay, I heard her once and then who is she? I've never heard from her again.
Yeah.
Those are the people. Then having the financial angle, the bookkeeper, when you're at that point, is super helpful. It's identifying what are your weakest points, and you hire to your weaknesses
Mm.
so that your strengths remain your strengths. And then you master your strength. You go all in and master that one thing, and then work on hiring. Maybe it's freelance at first, but hiring those people to fill the empty seats.
I like what you said, Cindy. This is not the best use of my time. Like
Yeah,
just having that mirror for yourself.
right.
I've run into a lot of that myself, and like I'm doing way more delegating in the last year than I
Yeah.
ever have, because I'm like, I'm the ideas person, right? The actual like finishing touches is not my jam. And I think I spent a lot of my life beating myself up for that, right?
Right.
Like
No, that's who you are.
it's just not my wheelhouse. And there are so many people for whom it is just a
Right.
joy. It's their
Right.
whole thing. It's what they love to do. And I'm like, yes, please take that. So yeah, hear you.
There's another angle to that I'm just starting to see come up within my clients, and I see it in myself, that sometimes it is your jam. Sometimes
Mm.
it's your kind of your happy place, like cleaning your kitchen over and over and over again until it's detailed because you're putting off doing what you really need to do, right? You're not going to get any ROI except for satisfaction from cleaning your kitchen until it, bling, shines. So hiring somebody to clean your house, so that thing, you may really love to do that, but it's keeping you from what you really need to do in your business.
They call that productive
Oh
procrastination.
yeah. Oh yeah, I know all about it. I know all about it.
Yeah, where you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, but you're doing something so you feel good, right?
And they're enjoying it because it's an easy mindless task
Yeah.
usually that you just go to, and it just feels kind of therapeutic to wash your bathtub out 20 times, or whatever. No, stop. Do what you need to do to be as productive as you can in your business. Because think of all the people that you have to help. You can't help them if you're scrubbing your bathtub.
That's a great focus, keeping those people in mind.
Yeah.
The people that need to hear the real stuff. They don't need to hear about your bathtub. They need to hear the other stuff. Cindy, are you comfortable sharing any of your numbers of like where you started, where you're at now in terms of your business finances?
Yeah, right. I started here.
She's doing the
Yeah,
goose egg
yeah,
zero.
yeah, I'm sorry if you're not watching and doing the big saying zero. And, over time, at first I started for free, spoke for free, had my beta clients for free. I was giving of my time because I felt like it was my university.
Mm.
And I would invest money into the coaching and things like that. So now we're at a point where we're over six figures. And some of that is from consulting work that I do through the John Maxwell Company, and then growing. My membership is very, very low. I think we have maybe a dozen members in there right now, but I pour into them with everything that I have, because I know no matter whether I have a dozen or I have 100, I can pour into them equally, right? That's the beauty of having that membership. So I am 1 year into, well, I'll be 1 year, January 10th, 2025. And I feel I feel good about that. I've used the consulting, the one-on-ones to bring in the majority of the income, but then building that foundation of the membership, which is my focus for next year, will help me bump up to the next level. Also, now speaking for a fee. So going from, free to fee, as they say, that I'm not just going to speak. It takes a lot of time to prepare a 45-minute keynote. So now moving into that platform of being paid to speak is really good, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And
I know a lot of people are curious about how to become a paid speaker. Can you share? I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but can you share about that piece of your journey?
First, believe that you're a speaker. Just start telling everybody, I'm a speaker. What do you do? Oh, I'm a speaker and a coach. Speaking and coaching should go hand in hand. Speaking, writing, coaching. You're a communicator. If you are a coach, you are a communicator. I don't care if you're introverted or extroverted or whatever, you are a communicator. So you have to speak. Start by going to the low-hanging fruit, going to your Rotary clubs, going to who are always looking for speakers, going to your women's groups, and that's what I started doing. I just started going around and I just would tell them, I'm a speaker. I joined a Toastmasters group for 1 year. It was an excellent group, but it taught me to get over myself, get over the and, ohs, so, all of that, and really deliver something that had clarity. That was hugely helpful. So I highly encourage getting involved in a group like Toastmasters. I only did it for 1 year because it was a little too structured for me. I'm kind of a free spirit. So but I love the ladies there and I highly support them. So I encourage you to do that. I joined the Maxwell leadership team, which was that was like kind of my first big break. I had to have enough profit in order to pay the fee to go out to Florida and get my certification. But then from that, I got speaker mentorship from a world-class speaking coach that I get to send him speaking videos every week. And he tells me, okay, don't do that, do this. He coaches me on it. That was huge. So what happened from that? I got to speak on the John Maxwell stage. I entered a contest. What happened from that? I got a keynote to go to my first speaking one, Women in Business, in August. So it's just doing the steps, starting out free and just telling people that I'm a speaker. I'm a speaker, I'm a writer, I'm a coach. That's what I do. And then once you get published, you're an author. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a coach, and living into that.
This is back to the beginning, talking about, first of all, the self-identity of it. And then second of all, just take the step. Just take the step. Enter the contest. You're never going to win the contest if you don't enter the
Right.
contest.
Right. Right. In the contest in August to speak on the Maxwell stage, that I was telling the wig on the dance floor story. And I
Wow.
told it in front of, 3,000 people who are present and thousands online from over 45 different countries. That was the first time I shared it, but I had healed from it and I knew it was a story. I got the coaching around it and I was ready. And it was 3 minutes and it was crazy scary, but it was amazing. And so the more you just get onto bigger and bigger things, the more steps that you take.
That's a bigger dance floor.
It is a
Getting
bigger
on the
dance
bigger
floor.
dance floor.
It is a bigger dance floor. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're speaking to one person or a small group of 10 or a stage on thousands. You have a message to share. and I think some of the best groups that I love talking to are 10, 12 people, where you get the interaction and the feedback, and you really get to see personally what the change is.
You're not up there with a light shining on you. You
Yeah.
can't see the audience when you're doing the smaller ones. I
Yeah.
love
You know what? November 16th, it just popped up on my feed, my Facebook feed. November 16th, 2023, I did my very first workshop. And somebody had, okay, Cindy, you got to go out and do your first workshop. So I encourage that too. Putting something out there, in-person workshop. It was a dinner experience. And my greatest fear was no one would show up. No one's going to show up. No one's going to show up. I had 12 ladies show up, and it was amazing. Like, we had such a wonderful evening. So just start somewhere. Put it out there, and you will attract who needs to come. And if one person shows up, if it's your mom, pour into your mom. And you know what? If you have an online masterclass and no one shows up, record it. And now that's content. So it doesn't matter if no one shows up. Just do it anyways and use that as content for the next one.
I love that, especially being scared and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was so scared. I'm like, oh, they're gonna go, oh, what's Cindee doing now? Wasn't she a realtor and now she's doing this? And that was my fear, but no, you know what you're called to do. Just step into it and do it.
Love it. So in our last couple minutes here, Cindee, what is one thing you wish someone would have told you as you were getting started out?
That it would be really, really hard. It is hard. Uh, that I saw it as like I have this dream and that everything is just going to happen all at once. And as soon, that everybody's come, but it wasn't like that at all. It's taken, 6 full years. And so I wish somebody would have really poured that into me. But the moment that I started investing in myself, when I started getting the coaches, that's when I wish I would have known that, I guess, if that's the one thing, is like, get the support around you to move forward in what you want to do. You can't do it alone. You can, but it may take you 20 years. I feel like I could have really sped up the trajectory if I would have started with coaching first myself.
Mm,
Coaches have coaches.
yep.
And I think that's one of the main questions of a person interviewing you should ask. Who's coaching you? Yeah, how strongly do you believe in coaching? You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I always hear never see a therapist who doesn't have a therapist.
Right,
Never
right.
see a coach who doesn't have a coach,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the best piece of advice that you did get early on that you wanted to pass on?
The best piece of advice. My very first group was in my living room with 2 ladies. And I said it was a book club, and they end up being my arm holders. They're just like my inner circle. And I remember the one lady, I was telling her what my dream was. And she said to me, Cindee, go plant your field. And she goes, go plant the seeds. Yeah, and she told me, you have this beautiful field out front of you. It's totally barren. You have the seeds. Just plant the seeds. Just plant the seeds, and eventually they'll grow. And they did. They did. It's just like every day I just threw out more seed, threw out more seed. I had to till the soil. I had to get rid of all the rocks. I had to get rid of all the junk and unbelief and everything that I had in myself. I had to clear the space within me and within that field, and just plant the seeds and water it with your learning and with your support, and they will grow. It will grow.
I absolutely love that. What a great metaphor.
Yeah, yeah, she was one. Well, she still is. This gives wonderful analogies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any last little tidbit that you would like to give for coaches trying to figure out how to make this thing work?
This is such a beautiful time of year. It just is a November. Well, actually, the whole fourth quarter is a building quarter for me. So I don't get upset if I'm not like massively bringing in business, because it's a building quarter. So use this time, use December, map it out, and then figure out who you're going to call, who are you going to use. Buy I don't have it behind me, but buy your giant wall calendar that you can see all at once. Plug in on that giant wall calendar something that you're going to do every single week. Like last year at the beginning of the year, I put down the 52 podcasts that I was going to have for the entire year. I put down the 12 masterminds I was going to have during the year. Everything that I put down on that giant wall calendar, I've done and blown it out of the water 100 times. So that's what I would say. Use this time right now to plan and to create that vision, and then learn what behaviors you need to tweak and change so that you can go after it and execute.
Absolutely. Last thing, where can we learn more about you and Lead My Life?
Oh, well, thank you. You can just go to leadmylife.com and you can check us out there. That's the community. There's a button there if you want to connect with me and have a talk. I'd love to talk with you more, or just to pour into your life if you have questions or anything like that. I love to have conversations that add value. So if you're a coach just starting out and you just have some questions, give me a call. I want to talk with you. Let's schedule a time to chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindee.
Yeah, it has been so fun. I love talking with you. I love your energy and your joy. And so thank you so much for having me today.